2024 is almost over and the Game Awards have just concluded and Astro won Game of the Year. A lot of people were mad about that, but guess what? They'll be okay. But my motto is always the Game Awards don't determine what games you enjoy. What were your games of the year? You know, those awards don't put any clout to any of that, because as long as you enjoy what you played, that's what's most important. And this is what this video is talking about today. 2024 for me was a big year when it comes to games. Not as big as last year, and probably not as big as 2025 is about to be, but I had plenty to play and plenty that I enjoyed. And I want to give y'all some of my favorite games this year, and for the sake of this video not being long as hell, I'm going to split it into two parts. We're going to show some love to the AAA, AA, you know, the games that came from the big companies. We're going to show some love to that, but also indie games deserve their own video from me, because you know me, I do love indie games and I enjoyed quite a bit of indie games this year, so I want to make sure I give them their own love, separate love, because they deserve that. But first and foremost, like and subscribe, and I appreciate y'all for a good year. This year we became YouTube partner, and right now we're on a chase to get those 4,000 watch hours, so definitely watch this video and let me know in the comment section what were your favorite games of this year and how did you feel about the Game Awards. Either way, I just want to know what you personally enjoy, because that's what matters most, is that you enjoy gaming. And that's what matters most to me. Was the game fun? Did you have fun? Did you like the game? That's all that matters really when it comes to all this. So let's get right into the games that I enjoyed in 2024. A lot of games got a lot of big recognition this year, so I might not talk about them as much. Things like Astro, we all know that game won Game of the Year, and it was also one of my favorite games of the year, and I did a review on the channel, so we're not gonna talk about that one. As well as things like Metaphor, ReFantasio, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which were all some of my favorite games this year. But I want to show some love to some games that I feel like should have gotten another look, or that didn't win anything at the Game Awards. My first game was Dragon's Dogma 2, and I will be honest with you and say that I did enjoy this game, and I do believe that it fell off in the end. And that's why I didn't win the Game of the Year or anything like that, because honestly, the combat was fun, the gameplay was fun, the pawn system was fun, but it just fell short for me in the end as far as the story goes. But the combat kept me going. And that Griffin, when I tell you that Griffin, me and that Griffin had a Peter Griffin and that chicken relationship for Family Guy, because this man always wanted to find me and fight me every time I turned this game on. I had to have fought 20 Griffins a day when I played this game. And you know what? That bitter rivalry was fun. Action-wise, the game was great. Story-wise, it was okay. Exploration-wise, it was okay. Mainly the gameplay was fun, and climbing on those monsters, fighting them, even more fun. Another game I gotta give props to is Another Code, or as we knew it when it came out on DS, is Trace Memory. They did come out with a collection, and they had games that we didn't get to play here in America, and they remade it in Switch graphics, and you didn't have to use that DS touchscreen. And for those who don't know, it's a mystery adventure game centered around Ashley Mizuki Robbins, who's a 13-year-old girl seeking answers about her mother's death and her father, because he ain't been around in that anime. The game was definitely good for its narrative and its unique puzzle solving mechanics. And it's one of those games that, while it's not the biggest game, it was a game that made me happy because they were bringing Nintendo DS games to the Switch. So definitely one of my favorite games this year, just off strength of it possibly bringing more DS games to the Switch and the future Switch 2 systems, which we did get a lot more of those. Persona 3 Reload, a lot of people feel like this should have been nominated for Game of the Year. Me, it's a remake. I wouldn't have been mad if it did, but also Persona 3 Reload, I liked it because it brought me back to the game that first put me into Persona. Like, I played 1 and 2, but I didn't like it as much. But Persona 3 was the one that introduced us to the social link systems and that school setting, that dual life sim / JRPG combat that everybody loves today. And me personally, I don't think the music was bad. I think the remix music was dope. If I want to listen to the old music, I can always go and do that. If I want to listen to old things like that, I can always go and do that because I still have those games. But I think Persona 3 Reload did a good job of bringing Persona 3 into that new generation of games, especially Persona games, making it closer to Persona 5. And seeing that was dope to me. Story's still a little bit the same. They added some new combat mechanics. And I think it was overall a cool game. It was one of my favorite games this year. Now, I always tell y'all this, but Unicorn Overlord is probably one of my favorite games of the year and one of the most slept on games of the year. And it didn't get too much recognition, but it should have. Vanillaware always makes dope games and always makes some games that seem to people sleep on, but the people that know about it know that it's one of the best games they played. And the combat reminds me of things like your Drascal Union and Fire Emblem. The voice acting, all of the characters that you can recruit on your team on your quest to fight and avenge your kingdom and take the kingdom back from all this evil and stuff. Like, the presentation of the game is dope. The cutscenes, the voice acting is good. I did a food video about foods in video games, and this game also has some good looking food. You know, I'm big back, I gotta talk about it. But Unicorn Overlord is definitely one of those games that y'all should check out this year if you haven't. It's often on sale, so definitely check it out because it's fun and it's very underrated. This next game, I'm gonna briefly say I enjoyed it. Was it one of the best games of the year? Not at all, but it was fun. It was fun for what it was. Endless Ocean Luminous, which a lot of people gonna look at me like, the game where you get to swim with fishes and take pictures? Yes, I had fun playing this. Got to play with a bunch of Twitch friends, got to play with a bunch of folks just swimming in the ocean, discovering biomes, discovering new animals, discovering new fish, and this is the closest I would ever go to the sea. And I almost didn't want to do it in this game either. But this is the closest you're gonna get me underwater in the sea because there's some strange things in the ocean. But the fact that I can play it with friends or 32 other people just swimming around, searching for treasure, searching for things, looking at new fishes and taking pictures, it was a cool little chill moment for me. And that's why I did like Endless Ocean Luminous. It's a cool game, and it was another game that was brought from the Wii, and it's a sequel to a game that we got on the Wii. So I do like seeing these franchises that people don't think they would ever come back on new systems. Now, Visions of Mana was one of my favorite games this year, and I really feel bad for it because I feel like it was slept on. And then we found out what happened to the company when a lot of those folks, I believe, lost their jobs that same day that it came out, which is wild to me. And Visions of Mana was one of those games that it was just a traditional JRPG. The story was traditional. It felt like old school 1990s JRPGs. Not like Chrono Trigger, but it was a simple story of good versus evil and friendship and all that stuff. And it did well. The combat was fun. The systems was fun. The way you could change into different forms using different elements, and it was a good time. And the combat carried it. The story and the graphic, the voice acting was cool too. It was just a game that came out in the summer that a lot of people kind of slept on, and then it got more bad news afterwards, and I really hated for them. But Visions of Mana was a game I really enjoyed this year, and I think y'all should check it out. This next game really wasn't that bad to me, but a lot of people didn't like it, and that's Star Wars Outlaws. And I understand why people didn't like it, because they have things in there like forced stealth, which a lot of people don't like that. They want to go in, shoot, blaze, and blah, blah, blah. Me personally, that didn't bother me that much. And the thing that I liked most about Star Wars Outlaws was the voice acting, the performance from everyone. It felt like you were in a living Star Wars world, and that's what I liked most about it. Could it be better? Yes, because it's a Ubisoft game, and we all know how Ubisoft is. But I think this is the one game that Ubisoft actually benefits a series. And, you know, all the side missions, all the different people. Kay was cool. And being a bounty hunter type thing, like, you know, being a bounty hunter and playing as a bounty hunter instead of being a Jedi all the time was cool to me. And again, the world in Star Wars Outlaws is why I actually like it. And it could be better, and I definitely understand why people didn't like it, and that's fine. That's your opinion. It's my opinion. I'm cool with that because there definitely were way more better games this year than Star Wars Outlaws, but it was fun. Definitely got to show some love to The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdoms. I think this game was a pretty good, solid game, giving us Zelda for the first time as a protagonist. But also, it was just different. It was different gameplay. It looked cute. It gave us the same graphic style as the Link Awakening remake, and it kind of gives hope that people will get different type of Zeldas and not just that Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom formula. Because people have been asking for a more traditional-ish Zelda, and this game does that well. And playing with Zelda, being able to just be creative with the way you traverse the map and the way you solve puzzles, and being able to mimic anything in the world, not anything, but mimic most things in the world and use those items for your safety. Like, the bed is OP in this game, but it was a good game. It was cute, and I think because the way it looked, the way it was, people were not gonna give it the same praise they would a Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom, because it just doesn't fit that mold that people think games should be when it comes to Game of the Year or big games. But it's a good game. And a lot of good games came out this year. So I understand why Echoes of Wisdom didn't make the noise that people thought it would in Game of the Year awards. But it was a good game that people should try. Another game, and this was we talked about a lot of JRPGs today, but JRPGs really had a good year. And Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven is a remake of a Super Nintendo game. And when I say they remade this pretty good, this was a good game. And in this game, you pretty much see a dynasty, you see a country, you see a world progress over the years as you take the role of the king. And the king getting, look, depending on what you do in the game, that king can die pretty early. And if the king dies, you gotta appoint a new successor. And the game takes place over time. And I think that's the dopest thing about it is all of these different people, your party is pretty much the ancestors of the people that you used at the beginning of the game. And that's really unique to me. And depending on what you solve, how you solve it, what you do, the future of your country, the future of this world changes based off you. There was one point where there was a mermaid and I was like, hey, I want to see this mermaid. And she was like, hey, if you keep using this, you'll never come back up. So I had a king that said, you know what? I want to see this mermaid. And I went underwater and they said he was never heard of again. And guess what? The game said, all right, well, 100 years later, yeah, so last king disappeared. So yeah, new king. But Romantic Saga was cool. The gameplay was fun. The way you learn moves. It's a game I definitely think y'all should check out. My last game on this list, because again, there are more, and I might do a part 2, but Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. And there was a bunch of folks over complaining about localization, blah, 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 new censorship, blah, no, anyway. Is the game good? Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake is probably one of my favorite games of the year because the gameplay is good. It's traditional Dragon Quest, but also I never really got to play traditional Dragon Quest as much except for on my Nintendo DS. The DS is the reason I even like Dragon Quest. And seeing them remake these games in the pixel graphic, the game world looks good. It's traditional as it gets. You gotta grind, and sometimes, luckily this game tells you where to go, but you will get lost. But the story is actually good. The gameplay is fun, and I just like the way they did it. And voice acting is in here as well. Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake has me ready for Dragon Quest HD 2D Remakes 1 and 2. And this is one of my favorite games of the year. And I asked this question in my old video, with the success of games like this, could we possibly see a Chrono Trigger remake in the same art style or a different one? But that's it for this video. Now, I appreciate y'all if y'all stuck around this long. Let me know in the comment section what were some of your favorite games of the year, especially from the big companies, because again, my next video will be about the indie games that I enjoyed this year. And it's not gonna be all of them because there's a lot of them. So again, there might be a couple parts of these videos as we close out the year for this good 2024 that we've had in gaming, and also this good 2024 that this channel has had because of y'all. So I appreciate y'all always for watching. Again, leave a comment, let me know how you feel. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe and tell me more about how you felt about these videos and games this year and the Game Awards. But I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one. And until next time, bye-bye.